is the new film starring Tom Cruise, directed by Doug Liman. They previously worked together on Edge of Tomorrow, and now they made a biography about the man Barry Seal, who used to be a pilot for a company TWA. That is until Domhnall Gleeson of the CIA shows up and asks him to take photos for reconnaissance missions for them, and then when he does that, Pablo Escobar notices him and makes him drop off drugs in America. And from that moment on, Barry Seal's life and career gets even crazier and crazier, to the point that it seems sort of unbelievable, but it actually happened. Doug Liman is a really good director, and I enjoyed his work with Tom Cruise on Edge of Tomorrow, so I was really excited to see what this movie was going to be about, especially since this isn't another Tom Cruise action movie, which for the most part are pretty good, but I just want to see Tom Cruise do something a little bit different. And I was also really fascinated with this movie because I had not heard about Barry Seal. I was aware of the situation of arming Contras and the war on drugs, Ollie North, Ronnie Reagan, all that, but I just had no idea who Barry Seal was himself. So seeing this movie, I was kind of looking at it as a history lesson as well, and it's a really good one at that. This movie is both entertaining and also educational, and depending on if you are a history buff or you're someone who's aware of stuff but not exactly sure who Barry Seal is, you could also see this movie as educational. Because through the direction of Doug Liman, there's a lot of moments in the movie where they were explaining the situation and how Barry Seal was involved. It actually just kind of clicked for me, and it all made sense right off the bat. And I love that this movie doesn't teach you things by being boring, acting like a regular history teacher teaching you something. This is more of an entertainment history lesson, where there's certain things that will make you laugh and you'll be engaged with. That way, by the end of the movie, a lot of the things that you saw, because you were enjoying it so much, you'll actually remember the history lesson you were supposed to take in. Also, Tom Cruise's performance as Barry Seal. This is kind of a make it or break it kind of move for the movie, since the entire movie is about Barry Seal, who should be more of an unlikable kind of person, but Tom Cruise really pulls it off with this. They make this unlikable person actually more likable and kind of entertaining. More of a doofus, I would say. More of just like, he doesn't really try to think 2 steps ahead, try to think of like what the consequence would be of a situation. He just goes along with it because it seems fun, it's going to make him money, so what's the problem? And to see the kind of evolution that Barry Seal goes through throughout the movie, it's really fascinating stuff to see where he starts off as this TWA pilot, and then seeing his life change and change. I'd actually say that this is one of Tom Cruise's better roles in the past few years, maybe one of his best performances out there. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the typical Tom Cruise action movie character, but it's just nice to see him kind of stray off and do something a little bit different with this character in this movie. And as the movie's going along, I couldn't help but feel kind of bad for Barry Seal, even though he's doing a ton of stuff that maybe he shouldn't be doing, he should have thought about, but through Tom Cruise's performance, they make him really more sympathetic, and that is a really smart move, because you don't want to watch a movie and just hate the person that is being portrayed on screen. You gotta understand who they are and why they're doing certain things. And I think they pulled it off really well with the screenwriting and the performance for Barry Seal. And also his wife, Lucy Seal. I was a little worried about this going into the movie because there is a clear age difference between the two, but after a while of watching the movie, I was not really distracted by that anymore. I think I was more drawn in to really notice that. And I think that's really good that their chemistry, these two performances coming together, actually were able to make me kind of forget about what I was kind of worried about beforehand. It barely even felt like a problem by the end of the movie. And also, Domhnall Gleeson was really good in this movie. I was glad to see him kind of have fun with this kind of sadistic role. It's not entirely sadistic. He's a man doing his job for the CIA, but certain stuff that he will say to Cruise, there's kind of this threatening undertone with some of the stuff that he will say to him, and even though he's got a smile on, he's usually in a more upbeat mood. Just hearing his words coming out of his mouth is just like, I want to like you, but you just said something that would make anyone else like kind of bat an eye or two. But of course, because of Barry Seal being more oblivious to some of the stuff surrounding him, it actually kind of works. I have a few flaws with this movie. The first, I want to say 30 minutes or so, feels like they're kind of skipping through certain things in the beginning of this story. It felt like they were just trying to get to the meat of it, and I think they maybe should have spent a little bit more time dwelling that out a little bit. So because of that, the pacing of the movie kind of felt jumpy at a certain moments. And also, this next thing, it could be a problem with my theater, but I just kind of wanted to mention is that the camera, because of the directing style that Doug Liman went with the cinematography, sometimes characters' faces would be cut off by the top part of the screen and stuff, and even certain text would be cut off by the bottom too. Now, of course, this could have been a problem with the projector at my theater and just the screen itself maybe, but at the same time, even if you could see the people's faces and they weren't cut off, I still think that maybe they could have picked a different kind of camera style, because there are great aerial shots in this movie. Whenever Tom Cruise is flying a plane or other plane shots, they look really good, especially certain ones where they're focusing over the landscape. It's beautiful stuff, but then they will cut like someone on the ground. It'll be like the shaky kind of documentary style of filmmaking, which isn't terrible. It wasn't awfully distracting, but at a couple moments I felt like it was wandering a little too much, even without the theater projector. Maybe that was a problem with my theater, but I think just as a movie, there are certain moments where it's like, you could have just kept the camera still for a second. I understand the reason why they wanted to do that, though, because the event seems so unbelievable that making it seem like this is a documentary just kind of captures that feeling. But I think just the cinematography in general could have been handled a little bit better. They could keep the style, but just kind of at times keep it not be so movie. Overall, though, I had a really entertaining blast with American Made. It taught me something, and I was really engaged throughout the story, and by the end of it, I actually felt really sympathetic for the Barry Seal character, who should be more unlikable from what I've heard, but he's actually done really well in this movie, and you'll have a lot of fun, but then at certain moments there'll be a certain tone change, and there'll still be some fun elements, but by the end of the movie you probably won't be laughing as well as you were at the beginning, which is actually pretty strong. To have that kind of tonal change and not have it feel so forced or anything like that, I think they kind of blended both tones near the ending of the movie very well, and it actually kind of leaves an impact with you what happens. I'm going to give American Made an A-. I would recommend you check this out right away. I know that there's some people out there who won't check out this movie because Tom Cruise is kind of a controversial figure, but I think that if you really want to see an interesting story, if you want to see Tom Cruise do something different than Mission Impossible, Jack Reacher kind of roles, then you will really enjoy this movie, because I had a heck of a time. I learned something about the events, the person, Barry Seal himself, and overall, I wouldn't say that this movie's like probably going to be on like a top 10 best of the year list. I would say that this might make a really good honorable mention, though, for a best of the year. But if you've seen American Made, leave in the comments below what you thought of it, and as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.